Hey everyone, it's Marabelle Blue. Before you begin to watch the next KEM Top Talk episode, whether you're watching unfiltered or interviews and discussions, I want to talk to you about my new project that I announced recently on 11/11 is Servbox. What is Servbox? For the last few months, I have been working on this idea of how to incorporate different items into a box, like you see in other places where they incorporate all of these different makeups. But not everybody wears makeup. And some people like to explore things without having to break the bank. So I am putting together with different vendors that I'm working with to incorporate different items for a bi-monthly subscription, or you can do a 6-month subscription or a 12-month subscription, and you will receive a box of different items that you can try. There are small boxes, and then for the couples boxes, they are a little bigger and they'll have more stuff in it. So I'm excited to do this because, like I said before, there are many people that want to try different things. They don't know what to try. They don't know where to go. And I want to be able to offer that opportunity, as well as incorporate little things in there that I'm not disclosing to the public, because why should I? Other than incorporating the items together, there are other little knickknacks that are going to go in the box. They're kind of top secret ideas. I'm not going to disclose it until you subscribe and you receive your own box. The website is being built as we speak, and I'm very, very excited for this thing to just explode. I know it's gonna, because people are very excited about it that I've already spoken to. They already want their boxes. Some boxes are already spoken for. Yes, some of the boxes will have gummies, maybe not all. It all depends. I like to keep it suspenseful. Unfortunately, we will not be able to ship outside of the United States. However, there are opportunities that may happen in the future. So I'm looking forward to that. So if you want to get on the wait list, email servboxset@gmail.com. And that's SERVBOXX set@gmail.com. And you will be on the wait list. So when we launch the site, we will be shipping those boxes over to you. And I hope you enjoy it. Like I said, it's the beginning and there's nothing like a first. So I'm hoping that you will enjoy this bi-monthly subscription of everything that we have to offer, the vendors that I'm going to be working with, and the vendors that I'm working with now. It's very, very exciting. And in addition to these bi-monthly subscriptions, there will be specialty boxes. They have names. I am not giving those away. All of that will be on the site. There will be a box to serve every member of our communities, vanilla couples, solos, everything. Big surprises in store. So I'm looking forward to it. This is Marabelle Blue signing off. And don't forget to sign up for your Servbox. Bye. It's Marabelle Blue with a new KEM Top Talk interviews and discussions. And this time it's going to be a little different. We are going to actually have a topic discussion on this show. We're going to talk about OnlyFans, and not just OnlyFans, but different platforms that sex workers are using in this day and age in order for them to monetize and be able to conduct business online, especially in this day and age of Corona. We have been on lockdown since March, so it has been a little crazy. So there's a lot of different facets that we want to touch base on. And I have 3 different guests today, and I'm so excited to have them on. 2 of them are coming back onto the show. We previously had Maya Morena, and as you know, I interviewed her before, not too long ago, is actually this year. She is, let me just pull it up because I have to read things directly. Maya Morena is a migrant sex worker. She is also an advocate, and we talked about her advocacy work back when we did her interview, and I will link everything for you so that you can connect with that interview as well. And we will also have none other than Mistress Thick. Over a decade of experience, Pinterest Mistress Thick is femdom, kink educator, Afrocentric goddess, and cutting edge direct sales platform creator. Now also advocating for equality and dignity in marketing and creating of Black adult content. And we have a new guest today. Her name is Ardnale, also known as Ardie, and I will also read her bio to you. Affectionately known as Ardie, is a Midwest model that lives the double life. Passionate about sex work and sex education, she is bright and bubbly and loves to help other femme navigate the world of duality in vanilla and kink life. So we definitely have an eclectic group of guests, and one by one, I am going to bring them up. Here we go. Hello, ladies. So, as you know, we are talking about things that have been going on with OnlyFans. It's just been the year of drama, of Bella Thorne, of people making money and being mocked at. I don't know if you saw recently, and this wasn't something that I included in my notes, but recently, and I'm going to talk about it on my unfiltered site. Recently, we somebody had put up on Twitter they just bought a house with their OnlyFans money, and they were so excited. You just saw the pictures of excitement. They're standing in the shower, in the bathtub, in their kitchen, and you just see the excitement. Oh my God! Like I don't follow this girl, but I was so excited for her because I know what it feels like to have something of your own to buy, that you have it. And then I said, well, let me look at the quotes. Let me look at the quoted tweets. And I was like, what the fuck? I mean, it's just like the things that I was reading, I couldn't believe that I was reading first and foremost. There isn't, I don't even know how to put it, but there isn't a moment in this lifetime where people don't hold back how they feel. It was really bad. Uh, how could people spend money on a 3? Look at the simp spending money on this ugly cow. Who pays to see people putting things up their butt like her? And I'm like, why? Like, if she bought a house under a different circumstance, would people have the same reaction? Let's say she wasn't a sex worker and she wasn't on OnlyFans. How do you think people would respond if she posted pictures and bought a house? Who would like to start first?
Oh, I'll take it. I'll jump in here in the deep end. I definitely think because she's a sex worker, there's an immediate disparaging of whatever accomplishment she's put out there. If she were a college graduate and just got her first professional placing and also acquired her home and then put this on social media to celebrate her accolades, she would most likely get a warmer reception. She would get people celebrating, her accomplishments, thanking her for, her achievements and, and being positive and contributing to a positive imagery of women. But because this person that you mentioned is a sex worker and made their money from an unconventional platform, because now, OnlyFans may be conventional to you, I, and other sex workers, but it really is unconventional when it comes to the consumption of porn. I think you ladies can agree, the other platforms differ tremendously. So I really think if she had have withheld the OnlyFans part and maybe said, this was her accomplishment after her first professional placing in whatever career she had chosen, she'd get a different reception.
I definitely think it has a lot to do with what we consider respectable labor in the mainstream. And there is definitely a narrow-minded idea of what that is. So it used to be like kind of made fun of if you were a makeup person on YouTube, but now it's gotten a lot more legitimacy and respect as more men have kind of entered into that field. So I definitely do think that it has a lot to do with what we consider to be respectable labor, and these hierarchies of respect that we create for working jobs and stuff.
I think that that's definitely the case. I don't like, even if it was simply, I just bought my first house. No other information about how you got it, anything, it would have been a completely different reaction. And then you'll still have the positives and negatives in the comment. Mostly, I would think it would be mostly positive, and then you would have the negatives of, oh, well, it'd be the criticism of what type of house it was or things like that. But when it comes to sex work being the reason, it's like, just like Maya was saying, like, it is really about, do you actually contribute to society? And what the misconception is that sex work doesn't contribute to society. Like, it does in every way. It is literally, you can't sell beer without boobs. So in some way, a femme body, anything related to sexual consumption is in the mainstream. So it's extremely annoying to be degraded or publicly devalued when there's no need. There's literally no need for it when all you are doing is working your butt off, making your dollars. And you're doing it independently. It's, if it was anything else in the world, people would definitely rejoice for you. So,
but here is my question. Your focus on balancing a vanilla life as well as having this life. What do you suggest to people? I mean, the thing is that when you're out there on the internet and you're presenting yourself on social media and things of that nature, how do we find that balance unless we just decide to make a full commitment? Maybe some people don't want to make a commitment. So how do we really find that balance in order for us to focus on, okay, so we have this job and we're doing what we're doing during the day, but at night I like to be this person, I like to focus on this. And the reality is, I mean, for a long time I was running my magazine and working for one of the biggest law firms in New York City, and certainly I didn't want them to find out that I was running this adult magazine, because I didn't want my life to clash. And I was really concerned that I would lose my job because of it. So how do we truly find a balance in this?
So this is something, you know, we had spoke about a while back, and I was just like, I see it all the time. It's I'm sitting there and I'm just like, okay, how do you do it? And the God honest truth is, it's hard. It's hard, and you have to know your risks. You have to be willing to take that leap and know what's important. I will say there's no blueprint. There is just, it is just, I look at it as math. Once you learn the order of operations and basic mathematics skills, whatever your caveat is, whether it be geometry, algebra, calculus, trig, whatever, you follow that. So for me personally, I definitely live a I don't care life. I live in my vanilla world is customer service. Essentially the same thing. The jobs that I work, I use the structures that I'm exposed to apply to how I run my sex work as well. Because it's like, actually just had a customer the other day, like, it was a newer customer. You message me, I send you my welcome message, you read it, you understand it, and we go from there. And he's like, I love how professional this is. I was like, I'm glad you do. Let's keep it going. What are you here for? Let's move on. I definitely will interact with you, but don't waste my time. And it's just like in the vanilla world where it is, you're not going to go into a job and be getting paid to be trained and be unprofessional. Create the standards. So you need to set the boundaries, write out what it is that you need out of this, write out what it is that is important to you and what you do want to keep separate. I will say I'm currently blessed to not have children, to have to factor in that aspect of the third portion of the double life, I will say. And plenty of other sex workers do have children, but also don't work in the vanilla world. So it is really, what are your personal values? I always make this joke, like, I have no morals, I have no values. I do, but it is more of a, like, if you find out, you find out. And if I'm not a good fit for you, then all I can do is accept rejection. I will say the biggest thing for me is, you might get rejected. You might get declined. And if they find out, are you going to stand by or are you going to hide from it? People say never live with regrets. You can have regrets. It's no problem with having regrets. It is, will you be ashamed of yourself? And you have to have that confidence within you. And when you don't, you need to take a step back and figure out how to get it or how to work within the confidence that you do have. So that's my piece on that. But it is it takes a long time. It takes a long time to figure it out.
Well, now getting back to the topic at hand, with the things that has been happening with OnlyFans and the drama that has been associated with it, if you will. And I found an article recently that I was reading, and I kind of took things out of there and posed questions of my own that I would like to direct to you. Now, not too long ago, I had the opportunity to interview Mistress, who had mentioned she's a big OnlyFans user. She's an advocate of OnlyFans. She's never had any issues whatsoever. And one of the things that she has mentioned was, if it was me or you who started a site like this, we would still experience some sort of drama because it's us. So does it become a personal thing? Like, one of the questions that I had asked was, is it because of the growth of OnlyFans that it has garnered this type of controversy, that there's this constant badgering going on? You had Bella Thorne, who joined the site, and she made these promises of putting naked pictures of herself, and instead it ended up being lingerie, and then people wanted their money back, and it just affected the way everybody did business. True, or false because you are users of OnlyFans. So I can only ask people that are using the site, have you had real problems or experiences that hindered you from making your own money?
Yes. Since her, obviously the elephant in the room is the reduction of what you're able to charge on a private message or receiving a tip. And for some users, it's 200. For some people, it's still 500. For some, it's 100. For some, it's 50. Just different amounts. But for the most part, it's no longer 500. And that is a huge difference to someone um, like us, to people like us who are using this platform, who use the tips that we generate as revenue. Like that's our income. So if you're reducing someone from being able to spend 500 at a time to 200 at a time, of course it's going to impact the merchant. In this scenario, we being the merchants. So think about any business that that decided to that were limited from their credit card processor as to the amount their customers could spend. It would drastically impact their business. And I think all of us are feeling the ripple effects of that. And it's happened. There's nothing we can do about it. We can only roll with the punches and hopefully communicate. Our communication is being heard and has some impact.
Would anybody else like to respond to any experiences that you may have had with OnlyFans, any chargebacks, any way of how you do business, or how anyone else, maybe you've spoken to somebody who has had experiences? Because sometimes somebody will have an experience. Where do they go? Who do they talk to?
Mm-hmm. So for me, I utilize the platform Telegram as just a communication tool. It's so many ways you can use it, but just in the networking groups between other sex workers, I love Telegram. Like
that's how we met.
It's like I
love
love Telegram. Like
yes.
I swear by Telegram, ride or die for nothing, like for anything. Like it is such a great tool. It really is. And so the different network groups that I'm in, we've had these we were having conversations, and even before the whole Bella Thorne thing, like as Black China all on it, and I would like to make the little mark of the difference between two celebrities, and we're just gonna say Black China and Bella Thorne. Bella Thorne didn't break it. Black China didn't break it like Bella Thorne did. Cause when she did, it was some we don't need that the celebrity look. But then as soon as a white woman joined, it was definitely the difference. I will say that. I know it's that. And I was just like,
well, also if you want to throw that out, there are other celebrities, they may not have been as high status and clout as Bella Thorne, but there are other celebrities that invaded the platform and abused the platform, and it's publicly known. They may not also share the same ethnicity as Bella Thorne, but they did the same thing. And a few of those celebrities had lost their accounts, and they now have free accounts. And they can't sell on the paid side, but they can, they are allowed to have a free account and sell on their free side.
The lack of recommendation based on certain characteristics, it's very interesting. But as far as the effects on us, like, so me personally, I don't feel like I realized that when I was talking to other, and this was way back when, this was before any of this was even booming and everybody had jokes about OnlyFans and things like that. It was, someone would say, hey, it would be new users, like, okay, hey, I'm new to this. How does if I request a payout today, how soon would I get it? And it does depend on your region, your payout, your payout minimum. Like I'm in the US, I'm in Ohio, $20. That's That's usually I got to make at least $20. That's when that's when the payout can be generated. But I think for some overseas shooters, it's like $200 or $600. Like there are higher caps, and I think that it not only is affected, was it like our way of business was affected not only by Bella Thorne, but it was also it also already has to do with the regions that it was already kind of preset in those areas where it just so happens that you were in an area that has a certain minimum. Like I don't remember. I don't ever see it as a problem for me, and the way that I do business on my page. But I have heard from other sex workers who run things differently. It really depends on your audience and what you're used to. I would assume, just as someone who is more into financial dominatrix, it is more like well, what the hell? If I tell them to spend this and they literally cannot, is it from a submissive standpoint, is it unjust or undue reprimandation by your dom because you literally can't? But then it's that there is a way of life and there's a culture, there is a system. And I think one of the things that I've noticed, regardless of Bella Thorne or not, or any changes, OnlyFans does not communicate.
Yes.
And if anything, it's one, they do not communicate. That is the biggest thing. Lack of communication is the killer of all relationships. Hands down. Like it is. They don't communicate. And then they don't claim us. So it's frustrating. It's like seeing it's just like not being recognized, but I'm so worthy. You know what I'm saying? It's just I make all this money for you, but I'm still not good enough. And it makes me think of was it, I think Eartha Kitt, where her dad was like this rich guy and still didn't want to claim her. There are so many different ways that things like translate in my brain with how the platform runs, and it's just like y'all customer service is terrible. Y'all could recruit from your earners, your technically employees, essentially. Hey, we'll give you this if you manage this customer service aspect, or allow us to help you with having clear and concise requirements and rules and regulations. Like, yeah, send out a terms of service. Of course, always everyone should read it, because that's what you do when you enter in a space. You figure out what the culture is. But at the same time, it's all lawyer jargon. It's all, a lot of those words are big words that some people, regardless of your demographic or where you come from or your educational background, you may not know those words. Yes, it's your responsibility.
But you see, you understand why they need to put that lawyer jargon in there, because as a business, from the business perspective, yes, they need to protect themselves. As with any of these social platforms, it's important with anything. If you open a business, you have to have that lawyer jargon in there. If you're going to have a platform that people are going to come in and use, or if you're going to sell a product that you're not liable if somebody has an allergic reaction to a skin product, because you're
you have to protect yourself first,
right, are in there. So we all understand that. But I wanted to ask Maya a question, because one of the things that came up was that in this article that if OnlyFans doesn't like the sex worker that's an escort. So my thing is that what is the difference? What is the difference with somebody who is, but they're using this particular platform to utilize it as a tool, as an extension of what it is that they are using it for?
So I think there's like two problems that I see in the discourse around sex work and around OnlyFans in general. And that is that there's a lot of paranoia because of the time that we're living in. And this is kind of what happens in marginalized spaces, I've noticed. So when Trump was elected and immigrants, especially undocumented immigrants like me, were, panicking, there was a lot of people that would go on Twitter and just say stuff like, oh, there's an ICE checkpoint here, there's an ICE checkpoint there. And there was a lot of undocumented immigrants doing whole threads of like, please don't do this unless you have evidence. Because it creates, it's a form of terrorism. It really is. It creates terror among the community. And I would say that that's something that definitely happens among sex workers, where one person will start saying things, and a lot of times they don't care whether something is true or not. They'll just kind of say it and they don't really see the harm. And that tends to happen. But unfortunately for marginalized people, like this hurts us. And OnlyFans, like a lot of the escort sites, like Eros and Slexa and all the other sites, they are a business, and sex workers are doing what is considered an illegal activity, especially escorts. This is part of an international treaty called the International Treaty Against Organized Crime. And one of the main focuses of that treaty is against sex work globally. So if you are a website and you are running this, it's kind of like running the site Silk Road, which was a website for drugs. You are considered a human trafficker if you explicitly allow that on your platform. So as a website, you cannot explicitly endorse sex workers. So this is kind of where we have a little bit of, I don't want to say privilege, but like a little bit of leverage, because sex work is considered, you will gain more sympathy than if you were selling drugs or if you were undocumented and you were smuggling people, just because of the narratives around sex work. And that's why I do think that we need to talk more and get our voices out there to perhaps change the laws. Otherwise, these websites are never going to be able to be clear. So we're just kind of have to guess whether or not we can get away with certain things. OnlyFans is a platform like all other platforms. They cannot explicitly endorse anything or like help us out if we're on the website to do that. And that is why they create distance and can't support sex workers, because it includes full service sex workers as well. And this is not like a weird thing. It's horrible that OnlyFans does this because it's all of society. But the thing is, if they came out in support of us, they would be shut down pretty much immediately. So this is kind of where the issue lies, because right now there is a war that's going on against porn, as you guys know. Like the war from the anti-porn wars from the 70s and 80s are back in full force now. And so are a lot of the people that were fighting that from the 70s and 80s. They're back in full force. So we're going to have to be careful in how we deal with this stuff. Rant over.
Would anybody like to respond to what Maya, the points that she brings up? Because it is kind of scary when you think about it, that here you are just trying to be self-employed, so to speak, doing things that you love. And you have different organizations that are out there not only chastising you, but trying to ruin you and trying to make you some pure person.
Mm-hmm.
How do you respond to that? Something that you're doing, that you love, you don't want that taken away. This is supposed to be the United States of America, the land of the free.
Right. From a corporation standpoint, I completely understand that. And that's one of the things that it's like, when it comes to duality, it is literally, I can't entirely be mad at a company for firing me because I don't fit into the standard that they need to uphold. That's valid. When it comes to them not claiming us and actually really not being able to claim us, I completely understand it. It's validity in that. And it's, where is the research? Where is the initiative on the company side to support its users of their sites without I would say neglecting us. Because if anything, it is, okay, you know, we all know you're getting questions. We all know that you are getting the Twitter ads and the work orders or questions and emails. If your frequently asked questions hasn't been updated, because it really hasn't, if like it should include, for people that use this platform for these things, this is a directive, or finding a way to have a liaison to properly navigate it. And honestly, it is, how do you navigate it and not get your, and be finding all ways to make money, but not lose your page at the same time. One of my favorite sex workers, her Twitter is now like Mistress 7. But stats, that girl, that she's literally a hustler. Like, she is literally the best. I love her so much. But she lost her page. And they took thousands of dollars from her. Thousands. It was like right before her birthday. And it was like, and we all did the best we could, like making sure that it's no question, no matter, yes, she had to start it over, but she helped.
But you see, this is the issue. This is the issue, is that you have somebody that made a ton of money, as mentioned in this article, somebody similar, they're going to withdraw that money, and now they can't because they have no account. So who do they turn to? Who do they talk to about it? Because it's not like there's some kind of a union out there that we can go to and discuss our issues. Hey, our account was taken, our money was taken. What steps would somebody need to take? I mean, who's willing to say, "Oh, well, I lost $5,000." It's not. We all have bills to pay.
Exactly.
Well, I want to.
I did have a question about that, because I heard a lot of people saying that, and I wasn't sure what that meant. Does that mean that if, your account gets shut down, that they have to return all the money that you've made from the site? Or does that mean that if you did not cash out the money, that anything in your account is taken?
So basically, you have a bank account and something happened, or the bank foreclosed, or whatever. The bank got shut down. All they did was just take your money. That's it. They didn't cut you a check for what you had in the account or anything. There is no recovery of your funds. You lose what you were earning. Depending all that, there is no final check. And that right there is the main problem. Had it been like, we can understand it, and that usually there's no notice. There should be a formal, just like you get fired. Okay, here's your pink slip. Here's why. You'll get your final check in the mail, whatever. Unfortunately, we can't continue.
You have to sign a separation agreement so that you can get your money. Exactly. Because in that separation agreement, you're promising that you're not going to sue said company, and you want your paycheck. End of story.
And when you mentioned Mary, it might have been, but that's not. This is one I heard about like 2 years ago. But it's literally a guild. Like, I just remember the word guild being attached to their name, but basically it's just a collaborative effort of people who you can have access to, and essentially you just get involved with the community, and like, you kind of know who you can talk to about getting advice. And then you kind of go from there, and it's a case by case thing. But it's not an organization that is straight up saying, here we are to protect you no matter what. It's not that. It is I think it is just a collaborative effort of other people who need help, and the people that they have access to that empathize with our industry and support us, and are able to help us navigate in the legal world when things go awry.
Well, I mean, I would suggest, and this is my only idea, because it falls into a legal standpoint, that at some point somebody's going to have to get an attorney, and they're going to have to pay the attorney in order for them to get their money. I mean, wouldn't that be the smart thing to do?
I think it's the Free Speech Coalition that you may be referring to.
The FSC? It could be the FSC because there's so many, and there's also the
there's also
It's a
several
trade
sex worker
association and
coalitions out
advocacy
there,
group.
so you might be referring to one of them.
Okay.
There are a lot of
Yeah.
sex worker coalitions. New
Mhm.
York and also Philly have 2 that I know of.
Okay. I'm gonna have to sit down and do my research on them because
But
it's needed. Like, and just the whole duality conversation. Like, in my day job, I am in a union, so I understand the benefits of a union. It is, hey, okay, you're gonna shut up. We're gonna just listen to what your boss is saying about these allegations, and then we'll talk because you don't want to incriminate yourself in the process. And a lot of people, I feel like a lot of sex workers don't really understand entirely that aspect that you were mentioning, Maya, of they can't openly support us or they will be technically categorized as human traffickers.
right.
So there's like,
which is crazy for
which is
for that to
ridiculous.
happen, because
Well,
it's just like, so you're saying that because you advocate a person who has a certain type of lifestyle, now all of a sudden you fall in a category of human trafficking.
well,
How
no,
does that
that's
happen?
not exactly what they're saying, and I want to revisit what Maya was talking about because she is right. There is a war, and it is international, but it became a national war when when we had back when Backpage and Craigslist existed. So when Forster and Sester got ushered in, those sites, well, Craigslist bowed out. They were smart. They said, you know what? We see what's happening with Backpage. Backpage got seized. Those owners got arrested and indicted by the Department of Justice, and they were considered sex traffickers, and that is part of that law that Maya was mentioning, or this international attack on sex workers where they're using the law against us. Now, forced ancestor were meant to protect against sex trafficking, but it ended up because sex traffickers were using those sites. They made the sites responsible. So if you're a website and you're going to be held responsible for what someone else is doing on your site, you're going to stringently monitor your site. You're going to make sure that you restrict your users to what they can do. So I completely understand why they do what they do. And then it gets hairy because you're now dealing with people who not only sell sex work, but they sell sex work in real life as well. So you have this community of 2 demographics: people who sell sex work virtually and people who sell sex work in real life, but they're all using the same platform. So how does that company maintain status quo? How does that company not let this turn into the wild west? So I can play devil's advocate and understand why OnlyFans and these other platforms can't and won't, and because they see what happened to Backpage. That no one wants to sit in jail for the actions of someone else that happened on your site. And I completely understand why, but OnlyFans is, there are other things that are in the mix that they're not doing. What you mentioned earlier, Ardie, is the lack of communication. And you mentioned this as well, Marabelle. But again, this all plays into what Maya mentioned, is this dubious plan against sex workers. Why let us know what the rules are when we can make millions of dollars for them, and then they can keep the money because we broke the rules, because the rules weren't explicitly written out as to what we can and cannot do. So it doesn't benefit OnlyFans or any of these platforms to really spell out what, because they really could spell out ABCD and really make it black and white for everyone to understand, but it doesn't benefit them because it benefits when they take the accounts. Now, as far as the accounts being taken, and this is my last point, this is what Elle mentioned, a lot of people lose their accounts and they think they lose their accounts because that it's OnlyFans being unfair, but very likely they violated terms of service.
Right. Very rarely do they not.
Very likely, and like 99% of the time, they violated terms of service. It's just that they weren't aware of the terms of
Right.
service that they violated. They did not
And that's why I
understand
say
the terms of
yes,
service. So again,
exactly.
this doesn't benefit OnlyFans to clarify this because they make more money just taking the account.
And
So
it's the capitalist debate. Like, it's just, okay, if it's all about money, then it's all about money. And they need to say that. And it's understanding that. And it's just like, when you look at the other platforms that are developing because of OnlyFans' failures to be adequate providers for their users that are providing financial gain to their company, it's ridiculous. So it's like, I know, oh gosh, what's the name of the site? I think Indie Build. It's another site that basically you can do what we do on the site,
and they've been
they
around
have
longer than OnlyFans.
This is what I'm
They've
saying.
been a lot,
But
about
I
maybe
think the
5
thing is,
years
I
before
didn't full
OnlyFans.
out make an account with them yet. But the
I have
thing
one.
is, when I was looking, and I was like, this is such a good site because it's like, no scat, no. You can't do these things, and these are the reasons why. That is the simplest thing. And my thing is, it goes to the structure of, do you do better? Do you gain more by teaching and cultivating, or by talking? And that's the difference between a good instructor and you could say a professor. It's the difference between a boss and a manager. Like, how do you navigate that? And as a company, like, I get it. Have you should, as a company, it is your responsibility to have the lawyer jargon written out. But then there's also a translation of, this is what this means. You can't do these things. And the fact that one of the things that I was working with a couple of newbies and people just trying to navigate the world, it's like, okay, listen, honey, this is what you can't do. We know what this says, but this is what you can't do. Even if it's like people who use Twitter for escorting, cool. Don't link that Twitter to your OnlyFans though, because by association they can wipe it. They can and they will and they do. And
if it's part of their terms of service,
mm-hmm.
and because I haven't taken the time out to read their terms of service, which is something that I should do, because I would just like to do a separate episode on breaking down some of these
What
terms
is the
of service,
lawyer
because I
jargon?
think
Like,
it's important to understand all of that. I
But
mean,
as
I
a
feel like I have a
content
leg up because I worked for a law firm, so I understand how they're using the terminology in the sentence for the most part. But at the same time, I mean, I have to ask the question because everybody's bringing up excellent points. But the thing is that one of the questions that I had put down was, is having a profile on any platform a safety net these days after making so much investment? I had an Instagram account for more than 8 years. And a week ago, it was just shut down.
wow.
I put nothing up there, absolutely nothing up there that was distasteful or went against any of their terms of service.
Mm-hmm.
So to go into my account, because I used a third-party app called Insta Report, just to get rid of people that unfollowed me and what have you, because I'm petty like that. If you unfollow me, what the hell do I want to keep following you for? And then I go back to Instagram and it logs me out saying there's suspicious activity. And I'm like, okay, this happened before. And I go back in and it says, we're going to review your account in the next 24 hours. And then I go in and I type in Marabelle Blue. And my thing is disappearing right before my eyes. User not found. My bio's disappearing. Everything's disappearing. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I did contact them. They gave me a code. They said, take a picture with this code so we know that it's you. And I'm still waiting to hear back. But what the fuck? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you
It's
can't
going to
use
come
those.
down to a point.
You
Right.
can't use those bot services on Instagram. They frown upon
Yeah, you
that.
can.
They will take
Is
your
it going to
account.
come to a point where we are going to have to learn how to manage on our own
Honestly,
selling
yes.
our own content